Okay, for this one, we're going to graph a line, only we're going to use the intercepts to do it. Now, if you're going to be graphing using intercepts, that means if you want the x-intercept, you simply take 0 and you plug it in for y. So that's what we're going to do. Now, you'll see that in putting 0 right here, all you're doing really is you're just kind of blanking this out. It's like it's not even there. In fact, it's kind of like just having this, where you just simply take that term away. So if you had just that, you would just simply divide 3 and that would be all. So with this particular one, this gets zeroed out, divide 3, get your answer of 2. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph that point. Keep in mind that this is on the x-axis, and the reason why it's on the x-axis is because, well, we solved for x, didn't we? Okay, let's do the same thing for the y-intercept. Only we'll take the same equation again and plug in 0 for x. In doing so, you'll notice that this zeroes out. So again, what happens is essentially is that this just gets scribbled out. In fact, if you were to put your finger over this thing here, and I just realized I'm putting my finger on it and you can't see my finger. So if this were gone, you get negative y is equal to 6. Literally, that's it. Divide out the negative 1 there, and you get negative 6. Let's go ahead and graph that point. Okay, that's really all you need. Just go ahead and connect those 2 points and draw the line all the way through. And that's all there is to it. Okay, for this one, we're given this polygon, and what you want to do is determine the measure of one of the unknown angles. There are essentially 3 steps to follow on this. The first step that you'll want is to make sure that you have a value for each and every single interior angle. You'll notice that we have one for the 98, A, 165, 125, 152, 129, but none for this one. Let's just look at that part. You will notice that what you have here is you have a linear pair of angles. Typically, when you have a straight line like this, these 2 angles would total 180 degrees. Which basically means this: if you take 180 and you subtract 50, what you get is 130 degrees. Okay, so now we've got a value for all the angles. Now what we can do is we can take all those angles and we can total them up. So let's add all those angles, and then what we're going to do is we're going to set it equal to this particular formula right here. So adding them up, that's what we get. And I want you to notice the 130. The 50 isn't in here because we're only going to be adding all the interior angles. So what that means for you is that you only worry about what's inside. We don't worry about what's outside. Okay. There's our formula, 180 n minus 2. Now n represents the number of angles that are inside. Or you can say it's the number of sides that the polygon has. So we can just simply count them. If you count them, we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So therefore, in place of n here, instead of writing n, what we're going to do is we're going to write 7. Okay. Now let's do some arithmetic. Let's take all these values here and let's kind of simplify. Because all we have to do now is just simply solve for the variable a. I wrote x, but really it's a. So doing that, we get this. All these values collect together to give us 799. This gives us 900, and I got that by taking the 7 and subtracting 2 first, and then multiplying by 180. A common error that people will make is they'll take 180 and multiply the 7 like they're doing distributive property. In this case, you get 1260. But then they take that answer and minus 2, forgetting that 180 not only distributes to 7, it also distributes to 2. If you're going to use distributive property, don't forget, you got to times 180 to 2 as well. So it would be minus 360 degrees instead of just 2. However, that's really unnecessary. If you instead just simply work with inside here, go 7 take away 2 is 5, and then multiply the 180, that would be enough to give us our answer as well, which is 900. Okay, let's finish this up. Just minus 799, and we get our answer, and that's it. Okay, for this one, you're asked to determine the unknown variable given the slope and 2 points. Since we're talking slope here, why don't we begin with that slope formula? And then what we can do is we can take whatever numbers they give us and plug them in. By the way, that's our slope formula. So what we'll do is we'll take 3/4 here, which is the slope, plug that in for m. Then what we'll do is we'll take our y values, which are k and 7, and we'll put those on top. And then the other two, which are 5 and 29, those are the x values, and they'll go on the bottom. In this particular case, I decided to make 7 go first on top. It doesn't matter if you choose k first, as long as you're consistent. If 7's first on top, then 29's got to be first on the bottom. So consistency matters here. By the way, 29 minus 5, isn't that 24? So why don't we just write that in? Okay, so now that we have this, let's take this thing and cross multiply. That is, we'll take the 4 and multiply to this entire quantity on top, and then the 3 and multiply to the 24. And that's what you get. Essentially what it is that the 3 and the 24 here, they go together. So that's what I'm writing right here. The 4 multiplies to the entire quantity, and the way I show that is by putting this in parentheses. So then what you're going to need to do now is you're going to need to take this 4, and when you multiply it, you multiply to both the 7 and the k. Here you're just going 3 times 24. So that's 72 equals 28 minus 4k. Alright, what you have now is just an ordinary two-step equation. Subtract 28 from both sides, and we do that because both sides here have just constants. In other words, neither of these have variables. And also, the right-hand side has more terms than the left-hand side. So we know then not to subtract 72, because that would give us nothing over here. Okay, so that gives us 44. And then what we can do now is divide the negative 4. Be aware that it is negative 4 and not just 4. A lot of students will forget the negative here that's in front and just simply omit it from there. And negative 11 is our answer. That's it for this one. I'll see you next time.